Hello and welcome to Clearview TV News. We are reaching you live from Nigeria's capital city, Abuja. In the news, despite 4 years of the anti-graft war of the Buhari administration, the cankerworm is not near making any appreciable impact, so says Serap. Independent National Electoral Commission in new search for electoral reform as its top officials begin stock-taking on the 2019 general elections. Japanese Prime Minister Shinzo Abe promises safety for school children as an attacker kills a schoolgirl and a man, injuring 16 others in Kawasaki City. I am Nten Ekpang with details of these and many more stories. After 4 years of the Buhari administration, which is anchored on anti-corruption crusade, 70% of Nigerians believe that corruption has either increased or remained the same since the administration came into office in 2015. This is contained in the 2018 Anti-Corruption Assessment Report of the Socio-Economic Rights and Accountability Project, SERAP. SERAP's Deputy Director, Olaware, stated these while presenting the report to the National Human Rights Commission in Abuja. Correspondent was there and now reports.
15.5% felt it was low. So that shows that a lot more people believe that the corruption level is still high, even given after 4 years of fighting corruption. Views on the current state of corruption in the past 4 years. This sought to know the view of the respondents and how they perceive corruption levels over the past 4 years. You can call this the kernel of the survey itself. And it turned out 70% of respondents said that corruption levels either increased or remained the same over the last 4 years. And I think this is something that should be worrisome.
The report is the outcome of a survey meant to assess the success or otherwise of the anti-corruption fight to enable stakeholders leverage on the recommendations to boost the anti-graft war. 2,655 Nigerians were polled across the 6 geopolitical zones of the country in the survey, which limited itself to the Nigerian police, judiciary, as well as ministries of power, education, and health. Findings showed that Nigerians perceive the police as being the most corrupt in terms of being asked for a bribe during interactions, followed by the power sector workers, while the judiciary is perceived to collect the highest bribes in terms of amount. SERAP said it presented the report to the National Human Rights Commission in order to seek avenues of collaboration to drive home the dangers of corruption and how government could lead by example to change the perception of the ordinary Nigerians about corruption among government agencies.
There is a need for a deliberate effort on the part of government to strengthen them capacity building and with the necessary infrastructure they need to do their work. That will go a long way to fight corruption. And secondly, from the report that Sarah has done, there is need to change the perceptions of the people, to educate the people more. Probably the anti-corruption agencies are not doing enough, or the government needs to tell the people more what they are doing. That will go a long way to the fight against corruption, at least to get the people on the part of the government.
Executive Secretary of the National Human Rights Commission, Tony Ojukwu, acknowledged the negative impact of corruption on the socio-economic life of the nation, noting specifically that it impoverishes a greater majority of the populace. He assured SERAPs of the Council's commitment to collaborate with them in the fight against corruption, which he said will improve the climate for the promotion and protection of human rights.
If you embezzle the money for building roads, there will be potholes everywhere. People will have accidents and people will lose their life and die. So the commission hates corruption because it increases our problems. It increases human rights challenges. And since our duty is to promote and protect human rights, we will not want anything that increases the problem. So corruption increases the problem in terms of human rights promotion and protection.
One thing SERAP and the National Human Rights Commission believe is that there is a link between corruption and human rights violation, hence the need to join forces to help government win the war against graft. Also in Abuja this Tuesday, some civil society groups observed May 28, 2019 as the second National Day of Mourning and Remembrance. They also used the event to express solidarity and demand accountability for the security and welfare of all citizens. as well as remembering those killed in avoidable circumstances. Correspondent Cecilia Colley tells us more.
The procession, tagged National Day of Mourning, saw protesters trooping out in black t-shirts with inscriptions such as "Not just numbers, Nigeria mourns, end the killings." Convener of the procession, Chidi Aslam, says the National Day of Mourning and Remembrance is a citizen-led initiative to express solidarity and demand accountability for the security and welfare of all Nigerians.
To say and show that Nigerian lives matter, that the people who are killed in all of these sites of mass killing in our country are human beings like you and I, like our parents, our brothers and sisters. They are not manure. And tomorrow, of course, is Democracy Day, where we celebrate our country, our institutions, the vitality of country and institutions, and we renew leadership. But we cannot be doing that while forgetting that we are losing thousands of citizens who should have been there with us tomorrow and who are not there because of the failure of leadership to acknowledge what is happening. And that's really the significance of today.
The co-convener, Abiodun Bayowu, said that it is time for the federal government to elect new persons to ensure adequate security for citizens.
It's an opportunity for the governor, for the president to change, the service chiefs. If they're not delivering, perhaps then to bring in other people. Nigeria has such a group of talented people, and we cannot continue in this manner.
Also speaking, another convener, Jaye Gaskia, says there is need to reform governance at all local levels so as to ensure maximum protection of lives and property of citizens.
The most fundamental reform that this country needs with respect to insecurity and with respect to all of these killings is that we need to reform governance at the local level. We need to reform local governance. Our communities are ungoverned spaces. There is no government in the community level. Let us restore self-government, democratic self-government to our communities, and let communities then handle, their own security processes. And then we can then put in place processes for coordination and synergy, between the different level of the security architecture. I'm worried. I'm scared. I'm worried because I know because of this crisis, the political class is already beginning to talk about decentralizing the police, and they're talking about state police. I'm extremely
The National Day of Mourning was consequent upon the resolution reached at the meeting of more than 100 civil society actors a year ago in Abuja. This day is a symbolic action designed to register the dissatisfaction of citizens with the state of the nation's security, since protests no longer seem to impact the conscience of Nigerian political elites. Cecilia Okoli reporting for Clearview Television.
The former acting Director General of NIMASA, Kalisto Sobi, convicted of fraud charges, is to be sentenced on June 3. Justice Majishola Olaturegum of the Federal High Court, Lagos, on Tuesday adjourned the sentence. The Economic and Financial Crimes Commission charged Obi with 8 counts of fraud. Obi was charged along with one Alu Dismal, an aide to his predecessor in office, Patrick Akpobo Lokemi, and 2 companies, Grand Pact Limited and Global Seal Investment Limited. On May 23, the court had convicted the defendants after it found them guilty of allegations contained in the charge. Delivering her judgment, which lasted for about 2.5 hours, Justice Olaterogun found the first defendant guilty of counts 5, 6, 7, and 8 of the charge, and also found the second defendant guilty of counts 2 and 4 of the charges. The court then adjourned the case to June 3 to enable counsel to address the courts on sentencing. On Tuesday, Rotimi Oyedekbo appeared for the EFCC while Messrs. Mobola G. Kuti and Collins Ogbonna appeared for the first to fourth defendants. Addressing the court, the prosecutor urged that the defendants be punished according to the provisions of the law by imposing the requisite sentence. Oyedepo argued that for wasting the time of the court which ultimately found them guilty of the offense, the defendants are thus not qualified to enjoy the discretion of the court in not imposing the maximum sentence. Prosecution also urged the court to order the forfeiture to the federal government of a hotel in Asaba called La Diva Hotel and Event Center, which is owned by the first defendant. The Minister of Budget and National Planning, Udoma Ododoma, has promised to ensure that the priorities of the Economic Recovery and Growth Plan ERGP are treated as important as they are. Odoma stated this at a presentation of the 2019 budget of continuity this Tuesday in Abuja. Correspondent Ifeolu Aishola was there and now reports.
For the past 4 years, the federal government has implemented several economic policy measures from the inception of the current administration, combined with public finance management reforms. These policies and reforms were generally in alignment with the economic blueprint of this administration, the Economic Recovery and Growth Plan, ERGP 2017 to 2020. This informed the expansionary budget of 2016 named the Budget of Change, the 2017 Budget of Recovery and Growth, the 2018 Budget of Consolidation, and the 2019 Budget of Continuity, signed 27 May 2019. The Minister of Budget Planning, Idoma, says the budget will help government achieve the ERGP objectives and avoid the problem faced in generating revenues by the country.
Continuity will further reposition the economy on the path of higher, inclusive, diversified, and sustainable growth, and contribute to lifting significant numbers of our citizens out of poverty. The budget is another step in the achievement. Nigeria faces significant challenges with respect to revenue generation. This is being tackled vigorously, and the Minister of Finance had set up a committee directed at this. We're looking at all ways of increasing revenues.
The federal budget gives details of expected revenue and expenditure and presents the directions of government policies and spending priorities for a given fiscal year. Ifeoluwa Ishola, reporting for Clearview Television.
Nigeria's former Minister of State for Health, Mohammed Patay, has received 2 appointments from the World Bank Group and the Public Health Graduate School of Harvard University, the Harvard's T.H. Chan School of Public Health. Patay was appointed earlier this May by the World Bank Group as Global Director of Health, Nutrition and Population and Director of Global Financing Facility in Washington, D.C. At about the same time, he was also appointed by the Harvard T.H. Chan School of Public Health as Julio Frank Professor of Public Health Leadership in the Department of Global Health and Population. Both appointments are effective July 1, 2019. However, the Harvard T.H. Chan School said Patay will be on leave while he serves as the Global Director for HNP and GFF. In his new position with the World Bank Group, Ali will lead, develop, and communicate the vision and strategic direction of the HNP and the GFF, as well as the linkages to human capital projects, ensure that global priorities are effectively integrated into the country programs, oversee the delivery of high-quality global engagements, and work closely with the HNP practice-affiliated regional directors. The GFF is a new model of development financing for the Sustainable Development Goals, SDGs, that help government to prioritize critical health and nutrition areas and bring together multiple financing sources to close the funding gap for reproductive, maternal, newborn, child, and adolescent health and nutrition by 2030. Prior to his appointment as Nigeria's Minister of State for Health in 2011, he had successfully served as the Executive Director of the National Primary Healthcare Development Agency. In 2013, he resigned as Minister of State for Health to join Duke University's Global Health Institute, where he served as a visiting professor and taught comparative health systems to postgraduate students. President Muhammadu Buhari has renewed the appointment of Dr. Olusegun Philip Ojo for the second time as the Director General National Agricultural Seed Council, NASC. The reappointment, which was conveyed via a letter dated May 21, 2019 and signed by the Minister of Agriculture and Rural Development, Chief Awudu Ogbe, said the reappointment takes effect from Sunday, May 26, 2019. Ojo was first appointed in May 2015, a time when the council and the seed sector were faced with myriads of challenges and dwindling resources due to the national and global economic recession, as well as farmers' low awareness of the importance of improved quality seeds. Prior to his appointment as DG in 2015, he had worked as a seed scientist with over 35 years of working experience in the seed industry. His areas of special expertise include seed certification and quality control, seed production, seed testing, seed conditioning, seed storage, and capacity building. Since his appointment, Ojo has deployed his wealth of experience in transforming the council into an innovative agency that has recorded tremendous growth and progress, while the momentum towards the actualization of its mandate continuously increases. Under his leadership, Nigeria, through the council, is benefiting from the regional harmonized seed regulation within the ECOWAS, as the country is so far the only one capable of moving seeds to other countries as a result of its advanced seed system, leading to numerous jobs and wealth creation opportunities along the seed value chain. The outgoing Minister of Water Resources, Suleiman Adamu, says increase in the nation's water reservoirs, as well as the designing of a framework for the concession of the hydropower plants, are key achievements recorded by his ministry since 2015 to date. Correspondent Cecilia Akoli reports Adamu are stating this during a valedictory session held in his honor this Wednesday in Abuja.
Speaking on his achievements, Suleiman Adamu, an engineer, said since assuming office in 2015, he has succeeded in building more water reservoirs and laying a solid foundation for motivating staff to achieve target objectives.
There has been an increase of over 1.8 billion cubic meters of impounded water in our reservoirs since 2015. This brings the total volume of water impounded by the ministry to 14.7 billion cubic meters, with a corresponding increase of the nation's surface water resources from 32.7 billion cubic meters to 34.5 billion cubic meters to date. The National Water Resources Master Plan has identified that Nigeria has a hydro potential of 12,220 megawatts. It is therefore important to pursue more vigorously hydropower generation to meet the nation's requirements. The concessioning of the 30 megawatt Durana hydropower plant has attained financial closure and it is planned to come into full operation soon. The process for concession of the 40 megawatt Kashivila hydropower plant, recently completed, has also commenced.
The minister also had some recommendations and a piece of advice for his incoming successor in office.
It's a 15-year plan of action, and it is hoped future administration will adhere to and faithfully implement after us. If this is achieved, the water sector will be on course to effectively meet the socio-economic aspirations of the nation. To this end, the Ministerial Policy Advisory Committee was established for the first time in this ministry in 2017, made up of experts in water resources to generally advise the Minister on policy and transboundary issues, monitor implementation of the Water Resources Master Plan and the roadmap, advise the Honourable Minister on all integrated water resources management matters, advise the Honourable Minister on any other related and important matter including climate change, sanitation, etc., and also monitor implementation of decisions of the annual meeting of the National Council on Water Resources.
The minister, while bidding farewell to staff of the ministry, charged them to extend similar cooperation accorded him to the next minister that will be named after him as President Buhari begins his second term on May 29. Cecilia Okoli reporting for Clearview Television.
The Director General of the National Youth Service Corps, Brigadier General Shoaib Ibrahim, has warned tertiary institutions in the country against enrolling unqualified graduates in the scheme. The DG said the NYSC will blacklist any higher institution found to be involved in fraudulent mobilization of unqualified graduates in order to serve as a deterrent to others. The NYSC is preparing to mobilize its Batch B prospective corps members by June, amid reports from the Ministry of Finance that the monthly allowance paid to the members had been increased to 30,000 naira, which is also the new minimum wage. But the NYSC DG, while addressing data entry officers from tertiary institutions and deployment and relocation officers from NYSC states at a workshop held in Abuja on Monday, warned that unqualified graduates should not be enrolled in the forthcoming mobilization. The DG said the NYSC will blacklist any core producing institution that is involved in fraudulent mobilization of unqualified graduates in order to serve as a deterrent to others. You're still watching the news coming to you on Clearview Television. We'll take a short break, and when we come back, there'll be more news. Please stay with us. For a story just coming in now, President Muhammadu Buhari on Tuesday held a meeting with security chiefs at the State House, Abuja, the Federal Capital Territory. The discussions, which came one day to the end of the first term of President Buhari, was attended by the outgoing Minister of Defense, Mansur Dan Ali. Service chiefs present include the Chief of Defense Staff, General Abayomi Olunishaki, the Chief of Army Staff, Lieutenant General Tuku Buratai. Others are Chief of Naval Staff, Air Marshal Sadiq Abubakar, Chief of Naval Staff, Vice Admiral Ibokete Baz, as well as the Inspector General of Police, Mohammed Adamu.
The meeting was to further reappraise him of on the actions taken after the last meeting. You all recall too that the state of insecurity, particularly armed banditry, kidnapping and robbery, had been specifically on the increase in some parts of the nation. The briefings were to the effect that we've had better response from the military and security agencies in those areas that were earlier mentioned. This is particularly because of the improved synergy amongst the various agencies that are providing information and intelligence. Furthermore, we have also had members of the public voluntarily offer information to the areas of the security challenges. I think on the whole, Mr. President was happy with the situation and the effort that the armed services and the security agencies are carrying out to tackle the security challenges. Another area of concern was the arms inflow into the nation. It's only God, perhaps, that can police such an expanse of border that we have. That's an area that Mr. President has directed that we do all that we can as well to ensure that we plug the gaps and those security areas that we also need to address.
The 2019 general elections may have been adjudged free, fair and credible, but the Independent National Electoral Commission (INEC) is leaving nothing to chance in its bid to ensure reform of the nation's electoral process. The electoral umpire is calling for a national conversation on the management of the electoral process and a consideration of the reports of previous committees on electoral reforms. At a meeting with resident electoral commissioners in Abuja, INEC Chairman Mahmoud Yakubu said the meeting, the first since the 2019 elections, will among other things set the tone for a consistent and progressively positive trajectory for nation building. Clearview TV's Anita Patrick has that report.
The Independent National Electoral Commission (INEC) says the nation's efforts at nation building and promoting peace and progress shall remain epileptic until the narrative in the electoral process is changed. Yakubu says top of their discussion is funding issues as elections are becoming increasingly expensive with increased number of voters, personnel and materials requiring huge logistics and deployment of new technology. He also says most importantly is a need for a conversation around the personal conduct of political actors, especially on the do-or-die attitude of some politicians and the inability to penalize electoral offenders.
The plethora of election observers, their accreditation, responsibilities and behavior during and after elections, funding issues. Elections are not only becoming increasingly expensive with increased number of voters, personnel and materials requiring huge logistics, but they also require the deployment of new technology. We need a deep conversation around the cost of conducting elections.
The Commission is hopeful that recommendations arising from the national conversation will feed into an enduring reform of the nation's electoral process. This is more so as in the next 2 months, the Commission plans to engage with all stakeholders, beginning with a root and branch review involving its own officials at local government and state levels, ranging from electoral officers, administrative secretaries, heads of departments, and representatives of ad hoc officials engaged for elections, like presiding officers, collation and returning officers, among others.
We intend to structure the conversation around the following critical issues. Number one, preparations for the 2019 general elections, looking in particular at some of the critical materials, staging posts such as the racks and the super racks, storage facilities, the collation and declaration centers, and so on. 2, voter registration and collection of the permanent voters' cards. 3, communication issues, particularly voter education and publicity, but also internal communication within the Commission.
The meeting later went into a closed-door working session with the Commission promising to make details of final decisions reached at this meeting public. Anita Patrick, reporting for Clearview Television.
The Independent National Electoral Commission (INEC) has issued certificates of return to the Zamfara State Governor-elect Bello Matawalle and his deputy Mahdi Gusau, alongside 3 senators-elect and 7 members-elect of the House of Representatives in Abuja. At the presentation ceremony in Abuja, INEC Chairman Professor Mahmoud Yakubu restated the importance of conducting proper party primaries before elections in order to reduce the spate of litigations associated with the electoral process. He said it is regrettable that at the moment there are 809 pre-elections cases pending in various courts across the country challenging the conduct of primaries by political parties for the 2019 general elections. Clearview TV's Anita Patrick again reports.
Against the backdrop of election litigations in Zamfara State, INEC, in compliance with the judgments of the Supreme Court, at this occasion is issuing 12 certificates of return to the governor-elect, deputy governor-elect, 3 senators-elect and 7 members-elect of the House of Representatives. 24 certificates will be presented in Gusau to winners of the State Assembly elections in Gusau on Friday, May 31st. Yakubu re-emphasized the need for political parties to strictly adhered to INEC's guidelines, even though it is their obligation to conduct credible primaries for the nomination of candidates. He insisted that unless political parties rise to the challenge of internal party democracy, the nation's democracy in particular and electoral process in general can never be verified.
At the moment, there are 809 pre-election cases pending in various courts across the country, challenging the conduct of primaries by political parties for the 2019 general elections. This is clearly more than the total number of petitions currently before the various election petition tribunals nationwide, challenging the outcome of the main elections.
Responding on behalf of the winners, the governor-elect, one of the legislators-elect, and the chairman of the Inter-Party Advisory Committee all called on the people of Zamfara State to see their victory as a divine design to move the states from obscurity to progress, that they can all enjoy the dividends of democracy.
I therefore call for all citizens of Zamfara State to take this back as a will of God, as not our own doing. This is what God has destined to all of us. And as the chairman said, this is a bitter lesson to the political parties. We have and we must abide by the rules and the laws of the country in order to guard and to safeguard our democracy.
This day marks a turning point in our democracy in Nigeria, where justice prevails. You know, it gives us delight that no one man can just do what he wants in Nigeria anymore. That democracy will always prevail, whether through the courts or through the Electoral Commission.
There can't be crisis because even the actors that defended this case in court already know that there's a process. If they are not trust the judicial system enough, there would have been crisis ab initio. But they put all their hope in the judicial system, both the defendant and those who are the plaintiff. But at the end of the day, the result has come. It must always favor one side. If you favor this side, this other side will accept it. And the only way you will be able to accept a judgment is for you to plan for the next 4 years.
The Commission had before now announced the withdrawal of 25 certificates of return and issued to persons declared winners in compliance with judgments by courts of competent jurisdiction. With the Zamfara case, the figure has now risen to 64. In addition, the Commission is studying 9 more judgments served it in the last 1 week, in which primary elections conducted by different political parties were overturned by the courts. Annie T. Patrick, reporting for Clearview Television.
Fresh crisis may be brewing in the All Progressives Congress, the APC, as the deputy national chairman of the party, Senator Lawan Shuaibu, has asked the national chairman, Comrade Adams Oshomole, to resign. Shuaibu accused Oshomole of lacking the requisite capacity to effectively run the affairs of the party. In a letter addressed to the national chairman dated May 27, 2019, Shuaibu said in advanced democracies, people who fail to add value or build on what they met on assumption of duty morally resign. The letter, titled APC is Unfortunate and Its Fortune and Misfortune, Time to Act, and made available to journalists Tuesday morning, also said, "It is my honest opinion that your ability to ensure this party flourishes is deficient, as you lack the necessary composure and you also don't possess the capabilities and the requisite experience to run a political party." A federal high court in Owerri on Monday sacked the member-elect for Nkwere Nwangele Njaba Isu Federal Constituency of Imo State in the House of Representatives Ugonna Ozurigbo. Justice Rigime, who delivered the judgment, ordered the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, to issue the certificate of return to Kingsley Echendu of the People's Democratic Party, PDP. The court said the plaintiff, Harrison Nwandike, was the rightful winner of the All Progressives Congress primary election in the federal constituency. Nwandike had dragged the APC and INEC to court over the submission of Ozurigbo's name as a candidate of the party. He prayed the court to declare him as the APC rightful candidate, contending that automatic tickets were unknown to the party's constitution. The judge agreed with the petitioner that automatic tickets were unknown to the party's law. However, while declaring Ozurigbo's candidacy as illegitimate, he ordered INEC to issue certificate of return to the PDP candidate who came second in the general election. The petitioner, who told reporters after the judgment that while he agreed with the court that he was the rightful winner of the APC primary in the federal constituency, it was wrong for the court to declare the PDP candidate the lawful winner of the general election. He said he will go to Court of Appeal to challenge the aspect of the judgment which ordered INEC to issue the PDP candidate the certificate of return. Nigerian children drawn from different parts of the country gathered on Monday in the nation's capital city, Abuja, to celebrate a special day set aside to honor them and recognize their unique role in the future growth of the country. Clearview TV's Rosa Wudu was there and now reports.
This year's Children's Day celebration in Abuja City, Nigeria was unique. It was marked by beautiful cultural performances and drama by students from Junior Secondary School Kubwa 2, Solid Rock Academy, Loyola Jesus College, all in Abuja, and Premier College, Yobe. The Nigerian Children's Day celebration in Abuja was organized by the National Council for Arts and Culture. Director General of the Council, Otumba Ronshewe, called on teachers to instill the diverse cultures of the country in the younger generation. He said giving them such training will go a long way in promoting the image of the country and their individual families.
We believe one of the strongest components of keeping the youth together is respecting and understanding our culture for what it is. And we have seen that in terms of our heritage, our music, our dance, our food, a lot of things have been bought from abroad now. We believe that if we start with them at this young age, it will be safer for us to keep Nigerians together in the future. So today, this is our own content of Culture Children's Day 2019. So we want to imbibe in them our culture, our belief, our heritage, everything about us. I'm sure some of you are fascinated with the lady that came out first, that played the violin, and also see the kind of dances. They're now encouraging themselves to showcase our own culture. So to me, we are winning the struggle.
For the Nigerian children, the joy of this year's celebration is one that will linger on for some time to come. Rose Audu, reporting for Clearview Television.
The Federal Road Safety Corps FRSC in Cross River has flagged off the Road Safety Awareness Campaign for primary school pupils and students with a view to sensitizing and creating awareness on the safe use of the road. FRSC Sector Commander in that state, Chidi Ebere Nkwonta, said the flag-off is in line with the 2019 National Road Safety Club Day with a theme creating awareness of road safety on young people. Nkwonta said that the FRSC has added a new dimension to the May 27 Children's Day celebration by creating a road safety awareness program for the Catch Them Young category. He explained that the campaign is part of the strategy to reach out to the young people on the safe use of the roads and signs. Nkwonta said that the Corps also has road safety awareness clubs in some schools across the state through the Community Development Service Group of the National Youth Service Corps members, and that the pilot agents of the program are NYSC members who go to schools every week to sensitize students on the safe use of roads and road signs. The students drawn from 7 secondary and primary schools in the state were sensitized on the safe use of the roads, how to identify road signs, and others. You're still watching the news coming to you on Clearview Television. We'll take a short break, and when we come back, it's going to be time for foreign news. Please stay with us.
This is Ibrahim calling from Niger State Medical Power.
Oh, this is Anita from Benin.
My name is John, calling from Niger.
My name is Ahmed, I'm calling from Kogi State.
This is Clearview TV, and this is our spread through free-to-air via Niconsat and online.
Yes, this is Difus calling you from Adamawa State.
Adamala Ahmad Ibrahim.
Mala Ahmad Ibrahim de Gocha Jaha kenan.
Daga Yobe.
I'm calling from Benue. My name is Chukwemeka. I'm calling from Niger State.
You can imagine how far your advertisements, social announcements, official notices, and jingles will go if you patronize us. It's time to take your messages far at the cheapest rate.
On the foreign scene, a knife-wielding man screamed, "I'll kill you," as he slashed at a group of schoolgirls at a bus stop in Japan on Monday, killing one girl and an adult who may have been the father of the child. 16 other girls between the ages of 6 and 12 and a woman were wounded by the man, who appeared to be in his 50s and died later of a self-inflicted wound. Police said an 11-year-old girl and a 39-year-old man were killed, but declined to give further details. The 39-year-old was believed to be the father of one of the girls. The motive for the attack was not clear, but there were no immediate fears of a wider security threat. There have been previous examples of mass stabbings in Japan, sometimes involving vulnerable targets. The girls were students of a private Catholic school in Kawasaki City, south of Tokyo, and were boarding their school bus when the suspect attacked. The suspect, a resident of Kawasaki, was found unconscious at the scene and died later from a self-inflicted stab wound to his neck. Prime Minister Shinzo Abe described the attack as extremely harrowing and promised to step up efforts to secure the safety of children commuting to and from school. Politicians from Britain's ruling Conservative Party jockeying to replace Prime Minister Theresa May have been outlining their leadership bids, with one candidate promising to give free passports to EU nationals after Brexit. Environment Minister Michael Gove, who unsuccessfully ran for the party leadership in 2016, has said he will waive a naturalization fee of £1,330 for an estimated 3 million eligible EU citizens. Gove, a leading Brexiteer, believes the move is the right thing to do. This was added. The guaranteeing of EU citizens' rights, maintaining an open border in Ireland, and settling Britain's debts to the EU are the three main components of the divorce deal with Brussels. The EU has insisted that unless all three settled, the bloc will refuse to discuss a future relationship with London, running the risk that the UK will crash out without a withdrawal agreement in place. Gove's cabinet colleague Jeremy Hunt, who is also one of the contenders to replace Theresa May, warned on Tuesday that any prime minister who tries to push through a no-deal Brexit will be committing political suicide. Multiple tornadoes have struck the U.S. state of Ohio, causing injuries and extensive damage. Some 5 million people have been left without power due to tornadoes, which began late Monday night. Injuries were reported around the cities of Dayton and Salina, but exact numbers were not immediately clear as rescue efforts continued. Dayton Fire Chief Jeff Lakins told reporters they were extremely fortunate to have no reported deaths at this point. Authorities in Dayton said the local water plants and pump stations are among those that had lost power as they urged people to conserve water. The calls came as search and rescue operations got underway, with emergency services working to clear the debris left by buildings destroyed by the tornadoes. The U.S. southern plains and Midwest regions have also been hit by several tornadoes, as well as severe rains and flooding in recent days. 2 people were killed in Oklahoma over the weekend when a tornado tore through a hotel and mobile home park in the city of El Reno. You're still watching the news coming to you on Clearview TV. We'll take a short break, and when we come back, it's going to be time for sport. Do stay with us.
This is Ibrahim calling from Niger State, American Power. Oh, this is Anita from Benin. My name is John, calling from Niger. My name is Ahmed, I'm calling from Kogi State.
This is Clearview TV, and this is our spread through free-to-air via Nikonsat and online.
Yes, this is Diffus calling you from Adamawa State. Adamawa Ahmad Ibrahim.
Mala Ahmad Ibrahim de Goche Jahachinan.
I'm calling from Clearview. My name is Super Mecca. I'm calling from Niger State.
You can imagine how far your advertisements, social announcements, official notices, and jingles will go if you patronize us. It's time to take your messages far at the cheapest rate.
Hello and welcome to the sporting segment of Clearview Television. I'm Oguntimehin Tolulokpe Oguntimehin. The federal government has redeemed the 25-year-old promise of a house to Clemens Westerhoff, technical advisor of Super Eagles, class of 94. The Minister of Power, Works and Housing, Babatunde Rajufashola, delivered the papers to Clemens Westerhoff this Monday in Abuja on behalf of the federal government. Our correspondent Ifeolu Aishola was there and now reports.
The class of 1994, as the team has come to be known, achieved so many firsts for the country and indeed the African continent, both as a team and individually. The team had as its handler the Dutchman Clemens Westerhoff, who was appointed as the technical advisor for Nigeria in 1989 after the senior national team failed to qualify for the 1919 FIFA World Cup. Westerhoff rebuilt the team, which eventually amazed the world and took Nigeria from the 79th position to the 5th position of the FIFA ranking, with a mixture of players from the local league and foreign clubs. As a mark of appreciation, the country in 1994 promised Clemens a house in Nigeria, which failed to materialize until the occasion of the 25th anniversary of Super Eagles of 94 squad and the Dream Team of Atalanta 96 in 2019. The Minister of Youth and Sport Development, Solomon Delong, here represented by Tayo Oreweme, appreciated the members of the Golden Era and the fulfillment of the promise made 25 years ago.
I salute every member of the Golden Era that brought joy to millions of Nigeria for their determination and dedication to the service of their fatherland. I also pray for the repose of the soul of members of the team that have departed from us. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, in keeping with his traditional of fulfilling promises, you will recall that His Excellency President Mohamed Buhari, GCFR, promptly delivered on his promise made when he was head of state to the victorious 1985 Golden Eaglets team when he assumed office in 2015. In the same vein, we are witnessing today the fulfillment of promise to the technical advisor of the team, Mr. Clement West Ham on the promise of a house to members of the 1994 set of the Super Eagles.
Also speaking, the Minister of Power Works and Housing, Babatunde Fashola, assured the National Football Federation of redeeming of pledges made to the Golden Era.
As we celebrated those successes in our euphoria and in our enthusiasm, we made promises. We promised all sorts of things, but certainly there was no follow-up. So I will advise that for us to respond to those requests now, you must document them to us. Those who have received what they got, those who haven't received what they were promised, and you must pass them through your ministry to us so that there are clear records of what we need to do. As soon as we get that documentation, I assure you this ministry will respond.
Clement Vesterov, in his response, expressed his gratitude to God and the government for the gift of the house.
I thank God for these blessings, and I thank God that I'm invited here today for the people on the high table, for you all, to collect my favors. I hope that I this time get also the keys.
The Nigerian national football team, also known as the Super Eagles, represent Nigeria in international football and is controlled by the Nigerian Football Federation. They are three-time African Cup of Nations winners. Ifeoluwa Ishola, reporting for Clearview Television.
And from that, let's also let you know that Nigerian Flying Eagles must now end a result against group leaders Ukraine, who pipped Qatar 1-0 earlier yesterday on Thursday to advance to the round of 16. And an impressive Flying Eagles side were well beaten by Team USA in Bielsko Biala on Monday night, meaning they must end a result against table toppers Ukraine on Thursday to be sure of a place in the round of 16. Looking already good for the knockout stages. Following a commanding 4-0 win over Qatar in Taiki on Friday, the two-time runners-up were taken to the cleaners by a smooth-playing American side that was vastly superior in pace, technical skill, all-round play, awareness, goal, and marksmanship. Having beaten Qatar easily, the Flying Eagles expect to find their range against USA and get their 2 feet into the knockout rounds. But that looked a mountain to climb from kickoff as the nifty Sebastian Soto, who scored both goals, combined well with Alexander Mendes and Timothy Weah to rip through the Nigeria defense at will. Soto came close to getting the first goal after only 9 minutes, but missed with goalkeeper Olawale Oremede beating. In another 9 minutes, he got his right and he was strangely allowed a free header from a corner inside the box. I had about 8 Nigerian players. It would have been 2-0 3 minutes later, but Oremede charged out Weah's close range shot. 9 minutes later, it should have been that exact scoreline, but the ever dangerous Soto was ruled offside after raveling into the net as 4 Nigeria defenders made a complete arch of clearing the ball from a corner kick. In the closing stages of the first half, Anikeme Okon's fierce shot was palmed away by goalkeeper Bryce Scott. But right from the recess, the threatening 2-0 score on the board became a reality as Soto again ran cleverly behind a stiff Nigerian rear guard to snap the ball past Oremade. Even as they improved in the second period, the Flying Eagles failed to show any attacking fluency or clinical efficiency, and it was rather the Americans who put on a display excellent footwork and a cohesion now and again to threaten at will. And from that to the UEFA Champions League, Liverpool manager Jurgen Klopp says he has never had a better team for a final as they prepare to face Tottenham in the Champions League final on Saturday. 51-year-old Klopp lost in the final with Borussia Dortmund in 2013 and Liverpool in 2018. He said he's pretty sure forward Roberto Firmino will be available after a thigh injury, with midfielder Naby Keita likely to be the only absentee. German Klopp has lost his previous 6 finals, including his last 3 in Europe, and is yet to win silverware after 3 attempts with Liverpool. Liverpool were beaten 3-1 by Sevilla in the 2016 Europa League final under Klopp, 3 months after losing to Manchester City on penalties in the League Cup final. Gareth Bale's blind overhead kick and 2 goalkeeping errors by Loris Karius condemned Liverpool to a 3-1 defeat in last year's final against Real Madrid in Kiev. Liverpool overturned a 3-0 first leg deficit to beat Barcelona 4-3 on aggregate to reach the Champions League final in Madrid. And from that to Italia Serie A, where head coach Gennaro Gattuso has left AC Milan by mutual agreement after the Serie A club missed out on Champions League qualification. The 41-year-old former midfielder, who played 468 game matches for the club, had 2 years left on his contract. AC Milan wishes to thank Gennaro Gattuso for his leadership during the last 18 months, said the club statement. They finished 5th in the table, missing out on the place in next season Champions League by 1 point. I have had the privilege to get to know Rino Gattuso over the past 6 months since my arrival at the club, said AC Milan chief executive Ivan Gassidis. Rino has been giving everything to our effort this season and has worked tirelessly, always taking full responsibility, putting the club above every other consideration. Our AC Milan, 7-time champions of Europe, have not played the Champions League since 2013-2014 season. And to the world of tennis, world number 1 Naomi Osaka avoided a premature end to her bid for a third straight Grand Slam title by coming from behind to reach the French Open's second round. She tries hard to stop Slovakia Anna Karolina Schmidlova, serving out the match before winning 0-6, 7-6, 6-1. The 21-year-old Japanese faces 2-time Grand Slam champion Victoria Azarenka next. Defending champion Simona Halep struggled to a 6-2, 3-6, 6-1 win over world number 47 Ajla Tomljanovic. Schmidlova ranks 90th in the world, made very few errors until victory was in sight, but the pressure of a career best win told as Osaka fought back. US Open and Australian Open champion Osaka is playing in her first Grand Slam as the top seed. And to the world of boxing, unified world heavyweight champion Anthony Joshua says he will only feel he has made it in boxing if he captures Deontay Wilder's WBC title. The 29-year-old faces Andy Rose Jr. on Saturday, and to BBC Sports, he does not feel burnt out as the fight week begins for the first time in a decade. I've never been in a fight week where I felt so energized, as he said. Meanwhile, Ruiz has got the New York fight by bugging Joshua's promoter Eddie Hearn on Instagram. Saturday night's fight at Madison Square Garden will see him end 9 months of inactivity, during which talks with Wilder have yielded nothing in the shape of historic contest, where one man could win all 4 heavyweight world titles for the first time. And that's it from the sporting segment of Clearview Television. I'm Oguntimehin Tolulope Oguntimehin.
Just before we go on the news, let's look at the stories that made headlines. The Socioeconomic Rights and Accountability Project (SERAP) says despite 4 years of the anti-graft war of the Buhari administration, 70% of Nigerians believe the cankerworm is not near making any appreciable impact. The Independent National Electoral Commission (INEC) has commenced stock-taking on the 2019 general elections with focus on electoral reforms to deepen the nation's democracy. Japanese Prime Minister Shinzo Abe has promised safety for school children after an attacker killed a schoolgirl and a man, injuring 16 others in Kawasaki City. Just before we go, remember that you can subscribe to our YouTube channel via Clearview Television. Like us on Facebook via Clearview Television Online. Follow us on Twitter at Clearview Online, as well as Instagram at Clearview TV_NG. You can also watch Clearview TV on Comsat with any free-to-air decoder. For details, contact your local installer. I am Nten Ekpang. Many thanks for watching.